Good morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. Welcome to WHAM Today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Sunday, 6th April, 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. United States President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs, aimed at reshaping global trade, have sparked widespread economic and political fallout, with a conservative think tank criticizing them as 4 times too high. Economists are questioning the administration's calculation formula. The resulting trade war has triggered market declines and strategic responses from businesses and governments, causing stock market turmoil and recession fears. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome H. Powell has stressed the need for patience. Silicon Valley is experiencing plunging valuations, and the tariffs are disrupting the Republican economic plan. President Trump is also closing a loophole affecting Chinese and Hong Kong retailers. Soybean farmers face uncertainty, while automakers are adjusting pricing. U.S. customs agents are collecting the 10% tariff. Beyond trade, the Trump administration is facing scrutiny over alleged selective removal of public records from government websites and the ending of a VA program for veterans. Staffing cuts have also impacted a U.S. health agency. Furthermore, a federal judge lacked the authority to order the Trump administration to broker the return of a Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. U.S. Senate Republicans passed a measure extending Trump's 2017 tax cuts and reducing spending. In Florida, lawmakers are considering loosening child labor laws. Over 1,200 protests were planned across the U.S. against President Trump and Elon Musk. Treasury Chief Bessent links the stock market decline more to a Chinese AI firm than to Trump's policies. Turning to China, the nation has retaliated against President Trump's tariffs with a 34% levy on all U.S. products, with President Trump responding that Beijing played it wrong. The European Union now faces a 20% levy on goods exported to the U.S., prompting consideration of countermeasures, while British car maker Jaguar Land Rover is pausing shipments to the U.S. due to new 25% import tariffs. In Lesotho, the small African nation anticipates a significant impact from a 50% tariff imposed by the U.S. on its textile exports. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu is scheduled to meet with President Trump to discuss tariffs, Gaza, and Iran. In other news, John Thorne, founder of the Texas Tribune and the American Journalism Project, organization supporting local journalism, has died at 59. India's stock market is experiencing a downturn, impacting small investors and influenced partly by tariff threats from Donald Trump. Foreign investors have sold over 10,355 crore in equities, with experts predicting a potentially lengthy recovery period. Market analysts are advising a sell-on-rise approach for the Nifty 50 index until a clear reversal or a retest of the 22,100 support level. Several factors will influence market trends in the coming week, including the Reserve Bank of India's monetary policy, Q4 results, global cues, and foreign fund flow. Data Consultancy Services, TCS, will announce its Q4 FY25 results on April 10th, also considering the final dividend for FY25. Sellaker Gadgets will consider raising euro 100 crore. Delivery is set to acquire Ecom Express for 14.7 crore amidst reports of layoffs and a pause on IPO plans. CRISIL and Ashiana Housing are among the companies trading ex-dividends in the coming week. Indian tech workers are worried about potential immigration policy changes if Trump is re-elected. Across the globe in the United States, potential changes to immigration policy under President Donald Trump are causing anxiety among Indian tech workers. Additionally, President Trump's tariff threats are contributing to a market slump in India, highlighting the interconnectedness of global economies and policies. China faces economic headwinds as investors grapple with unstable real estate and volatile financial markets. Anticipating market turbulence from new U.S. tariffs under President Trump, Chinese investors brace for potential market downturns. In response to these U.S. tariffs, China's foreign ministry declared that the market has spoken, while the Commerce Ministry plans a 34% levy on U.S. goods. Beijing vows resolute measures against President Trump's tariffs, signaling a retaliatory trade stance. Philippines views China's arrests of alleged spies as possible retaliation, potentially tied to broader geopolitical tensions. China asserts its economy is already trade war-proofed. Turning to the United States, President Trump has extended the deadline for a deal regarding TikTok, a Chinese video app popular among 170 million U.S. users. The U.S. has imposed new tariffs on Chinese goods under President Trump, triggering retaliatory actions from Beijing. Finally, in the commodities market, experts foresee a potential pullback in domestic gold markets, possibly driving prices down to yuan 87,000 or even yuan 84,000 per kilogram. Germany is currently navigating a complex landscape of economic headwinds and potential trade disputes, coupled with emerging opportunities in defense. The nation's unemployment rate has risen to 6.3% in March, the largest monthly increase since October 2024. This increase aligns with an ongoing German recession and casts a shadow over the Hanover Industrial Trade Fair, an event typically showcasing German industrial prowess. Adding to the economic strain, President Donald Trump's announcement of a 25% blanket import tariff, especially impacting automobiles, represents a considerable threat to German car manufacturers. In response, Germany, in concert with other major automotive suppliers to the U.S., is contemplating retaliatory action. Shifting focus, Germany's defense sector is preparing for substantial growth, fueled by increased European investment in armaments. This has sparked discussion about the potential for skilled workers from the struggling automotive industry to find new employment opportunities in the expanding defense sector. Argentina's president enjoyed a celebratory visit to Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club, marking a high-profile engagement. Turning to Australia, the nation's leader introduced a substantial $1.40 billion initiative aimed at lowering power bills for citizens and businesses. In Brazil, Petrobras is advancing towards drilling operations in a vital offshore region, a move that could significantly impact the country's energy sector. Bulgaria and Turkey are engaging in discussions to potentially expand gas flow capacity at their shared border, enhancing energy cooperation between the two nations. In the latest from Canada, Conservatives are pledging to cut business red tape by 25%, a move intended to stimulate economic growth and ease regulatory burdens. The Trump administration argued that a judge lacks the authority to mandate the return of an individual mistakenly deported to El Salvador, raising questions about immigration enforcement. Across Europe, nations are bolstering their war readiness in response to perceived shifts in U.S. transatlantic security guarantees, a phenomenon labeled the Trump effect. Meanwhile, Italy and Spain cautioned against aggressive EU responses to U.S. trade measures, and Portugal's opposition party proposed a VAT exemption on select food products to ease the burden on consumers. Bank Indonesia affirmed its commitment to supporting the rupiah in the face of potential trade tariffs, signaling a proactive stance against economic headwinds. A striking architectural feature defines Mexico City, where a remarkably slender tower measures a mere 14 feet in width on one side, challenging conventional design norms. Nigeria's once thriving textile industry has suffered setbacks due to the influx of inexpensive imports from China, impacting local manufacturing and employment. The Philippines interprets China's recent arrests of alleged spies as a retaliatory measure, indicating heightened tensions and suspicion between the two countries. Russia launched a missile attack on Kyiv, resulting in explosions, while a separate Russian strike on Kryvyi Rih the hometown of President Zelensky, tragically killed 19 individuals, highlighting the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Vietnam's economic growth has decelerated in the first quarter, anticipating potential adverse effects from impending U.S. tariffs. A sanctioned Zimbabwean leader plans to suspend U.S. tariffs in an attempt to improve relations, signaling a desire to recalibrate the country's international standing. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.